Hello and welcome to the Club Blue podcast post-match reaction sponsored by NordVPN. I'm your host, Dan Rolinson, joined by Matt Kendrick to talk about a Champions League away win in the last 16 away at Bruges. 3-1. Didn't really feel like a 3-1 performance, which I'm sure we'll get into. But what a cracking result that is to take into the second leg next week.
3-1. I switched off in the last 10 minutes. No. I wasn't expecting it, to be honest. I was expecting a late kick in the nads for us to lose it. But I'm conditioned to think that way. But yeah, I think it's better than we could have imagined, really, especially with the way that majority of the game panned out. I think we'd have probably, wouldn't say we'd been relieved to leave the game with a 1-1, but I think we'd have been satisfied and then thought, well, let's get the job done at Villa Park. I know that's still the case. Let's get the job done at Villa Park. And I suppose the big thing is to ward off any complacency. But that's just a magnificent result, really, for the first leg of a last 16 tie in the Champions League. Just still can't believe it, can you?
Yeah, we've done a big part of the task tonight, and I'm not going to get carried away that the tie is done, because it absolutely isn't. You know, we all know that Villa could do something silly next week. If we concede early, for example, it does feel slightly different, even though we have the 2-goal advantage. So I'm not saying it's done, but we've gone a long way there to put in our half a foot in the quarterfinals. I'd have been happy with a 1-1 even before the game. I said before, like, I thought this would be quite cagey, and they know that they probably need to win this game to stand any chance of getting through, barring a miracle at Villa Park, and they've not done that. And if we can stifle them enough to kind of get a draw, we come and go, okay, well, we've done our part. We back ourselves to beat you at home. We're halfway there. To win is, I'm not saying it's like beyond our wildest imaginations to go to Bruges and win, because they're not exactly Real Madrid, but I'd have been more than happy with a 1-1. And as the game progressed in the way it did, if you'd have offered me even half time probably, or 60 minutes, this will finish at 1-1, it'll peter out. You won't get any injuries or anything. It'll stay as it is. I'd have said, yeah, right, fine. I'm happy with that to go into the second leg next week. To go into it with a 2-goal advantage, I'm not going to get carried away and say we're already there, but I'll feel a lot more comfortable on my way to Villa Park next Wednesday than I would have if it was a 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, who'd have thought it? Bruges are a good team. You don't get through to be champions of your country and then get through to the last 16 if they're not a good team. And I did fear for us. After we conceded the equaliser, I did think that, we wouldn't say we're under the cosh, but you thought, well, actually, the momentum shifted here, and we've got to be careful not to be vulnerable again. But like you, I think that 1-1 would have been a decent result. I thought it was probably kind of not petering out, but heading towards that conclusion. I don't know. This is Aston Villa, so there's all that. It won't be that straightforward. I don't think we're going to win 3-0 and beat them 6-1 aggregate. I think there's probably still some twists and turns, because Villa like to go the scenic route with these things, but we certainly give ourselves a really, really good, strong chance of being in the last 8 of the Champions League, and that's remarkable, really. I don't want to count my chickens, but if we do get to the last 8, I can't remember, we did some predictions, didn't we? Was that at the start of the season, or was it midway through the season or something? But I can't remember what I said.
Did the start. I think we did it at the start, and we potentially revisited them in the first episode we did in the new office, and we said, would you like to change anything? And I think we all stuck with what we said. Me and John definitely said we'd get to this stage and then go out, obviously, before we know who we're going to play. I'd have taken round of 16. When you get Bruges, you think, okay, well, I want us to get to the quarterfinal now, and obviously I do think we'll get to the quarterfinal. I can't remember what you said. I explicitly remember Dan Breydel saying semi-final at our end of season live show last year, and kind of laughing at him, and we're not a million miles away from that. Really getting ahead of ourselves now. I can't remember what you said. Possibly quarterfinal, yeah. Can't remember.
I think I said quarterfinal, but I reserve the right to amend that as this adventure continues, hopefully.
Dan Smith says, what's less likely? We lose on aggregate to Bruges, or we lose to Preston? Are we gonna be celebrating the FA Cup draw again? Are we doing that?
I've told you, Dan, I wasn't happy with the way that you and Mr. Townley reacted.
Not the only one.
Yeah, I didn't like the idea of that. I think John admitted in real time that it's the one that gets clipped by Preston fans and shoved down your throat forevermore.
If that does happen, two idiots on a podcast are the least of our concerns. It's the Villa that have mucked it up.
Don't try and absolve yourself of responsibility, mate. If you're the one who's they're going to be playing yours and John's podcast, that's going to be pinned to the dressing room wall.
That's 2 extra listens, thank God. We'll win anyway. I ain't bothered about that. Come on, let's not be silly. Championship side at home, away. Sorry. Come on. Anyway, let's move away from that. We've done enough about the FA Cup draw. What's less likely? I don't know. Losing on aggregate to Bruges probably, because we're already ahead and the second leg is to come. Let's start with Bailey. Obviously, in the team as the first thing that may have raised a few eyebrows, and Asensio not in it. But we spoke about Asensio, where's his role with Rodgers? What does it mean for Rodgers potentially playing on the right, which is where the ball comes from for the own goal, incidentally. But Bailey's out there, and a lot of pre-match moaning, which is pretty standard these days, of what's he in the team for, etc., and all looks a little bit silly after 3 minutes. But then he's probably justified about 15 minutes later with their goal. But we'll get to that in a sec. Great finish from him.
Yeah, it was. It was class, to be honest. Nice little assist from Tyrone Mings as well. And for that to happen, my son was racing back from college, and I think I've got him. I think he knows, but I've got him on that kind of Find My Phone app, so I can check where he's going.
He knows now.
Like yeah, and I think he'd got to. I think he just got to the bus stop around the corner from ours, and we'd scored. So, and then by the time he properly settled down and got himself comfortable and stuff like that, we were 1-1 again. So I might just keep him away. I might just keep him away from Villa Park next week. You just stay there. We've got this without you. But yeah, it was a brilliant start. And I actually thought that. I mean, I don't know what the possession stats ended with at the end of the game. It probably was a bit more even than it was at half time. But I actually thought that goal, we can actually try and take some control of this game now and play our own way. And then the scored from their first shot on target stat comes back and bites us on the backside again.
It's unbelievable that is,
It's alarming, isn't it?
I don't know how we fix that. What I would say is that I don't know how that compares to the rest of the league. Like, is it as abnormal as we think it is? It probably is, but I've not seen anything from any of the others. AVFC Stato tweeted it as it happened. Villa have conceded from their opponent's first shot on target in 18 fixtures this season, as well as from the rebound of the first shot on target in 3 games. So in 21 fixtures this season, we've scored from conceded from the first attempt. So that's so poor, and that's not a coincidence. But I don't know how you fix it.
Yeah, I was going to retweet him with the phrase "I Bruges easily," but I thought now's not the time. We'll save that to the podcast when we've won 3-1. It is alarming, really. I mean, what did you make of the goal? Obviously, Bailey. You probably don't notice at the time, although Ali McCoist was quick to spot that somebody had been pulled out of position.
And kept telling us over and over that he'd spotted it.
yeah, well, it was just too straightforward, wasn't it? I don't think the guy even struck it well. He kind of struck it into the turf a little bit, but that did enough to divert it away from Emery. Yeah,
it's the kind of the good and bad of Bailey, I suppose, if you really want to put it on him, which I don't know, I'm a little bit torn. I don't know whether that's Bailey's fault. I've seen it back on the replays. I've had Ali McCoy shouting on my ear that he's let his runner go and that's his responsibility. And I get that. But I don't know. I don't know whether I'll put it on him. I don't know. I'm a little bit distracted because I was trying to squeeze in a pun about De Kuiper's put it past the keeper, and all of a sudden it's 1-1, but I couldn't quite get it right.
Yeah, leave those to me. You just hold this thing together if you can. All right.
Yeah, I'll try my best. Yeah. I don't know. It just felt more like a Villa thing more so than a Bailey thing. That it was just like their first attack, pretty soft defending all round that were easy to fashion a chance against, and all of a sudden it's 1-1. Oh no, we could be in trouble here. And it's the more so of not taking advantage of going ahead first and early. Like, I just want to see us kill a team and keep that momentum going like we did against Celtic. I know we got pinned back, but we got the 2 goals early and we're up for it and we're buzzing and we're going. How many times have we gone ahead and just like sat off and invited pressure on ourselves and not use that momentum. That's the frustration for me.
Yeah, you just wonder, Martinez, what's it doing for the economy in terms of Pringles sales in the Sutton Coldfield area or wherever he lives? Because he just can't buy a clean sheet, can he, at the moment? And I was thinking, I'll do the puns. I was thinking, the Pringles thing. Once you pop, you can't stop.
Yeah.
Once you can't stop, you can't pop, can you? So,
oh God.
God. It is frustrating though, because
yeah. I mean, it's not funny, is it?
Well, it's not funny because let's hope we can negotiate our way through this tie with the 2-goal lead that we've got. But there's been plenty of occasions where that susceptibility from the first attack has really hindered us this year.
Because Bruges will have an attack at Villa Park next week, you would imagine, and if they score from their first one and we haven't scored, I still think Villa will get through this tie, of course I do, but imagine if they score early in the first 10 or 15 minutes, what the mood will be like in Villa Park, like, oh no, here we go again, that kind of feeling. They will make chances, and it's a good chance with Villa's defensive record at the moment. They will score. It was nice to see Pau Torres on the bench tonight, by the way, which is something I didn't really kind of went under the radar a little bit. I'm not saying he'll be ready to start next week, but it's good to see him kind of back and getting closer. And the more options we have, the better chance of us trying to fix the problems that we've got. But it's so frustrating.
Maybe we should do, when Albert Adoma was allowed to walk one in away at Ellen Road. I should do that and just say, listen, have your goal, get it out of the way, and then we'll come and play. It is frustrating, and I know I've seen a little bit of not hate, but I've seen a little Martinez getting a little bit of stick this season. I think it's fair to say he's not quite the keeper that he was last season, but those were ridiculously high, impeccable standards to live up to. And again, he's pulled out that save at a really crucial time. That probably came in that little flurry when I thought we've got to kind of hold on in here now.
Is that just after the Asensio chance?
No, that was in the first half, wasn't it?
I can't remember. Martinez. Oh no, the Mings one was after Asensio, wasn't it? My bad.
I don't think the Mings one. I think the Mings one was before Asensio. Was it not?
When Asensio, not the goal. When Asensio had that chance that Cash then skied over. I'm sure they went up the other end.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you meant after the penalty. Yeah. So we're all jumbled all over the place, mate. We just it's so exciting, Dan. We can't get our thoughts together, can we?
Should we stick with the goals? I suppose. I mean, I say that it was one of those games where I said to you before we started, there's no way it's a 3-1 performance from Villa that we've gone there and been dominant and comfortable and got our goals because we deserved them, which is probably the wrong phrase, but because we've made changes and we've gone on to win the game. Rodgers has put a great early ball across into the box, a massive slice of luck for the defender to feel like he has to put something on it, and it goes into the back of the net. Great, obviously we'll always take that. And then the penalty comes from them. I don't know, maybe a bit of desperation from them losing the ball, and Cash is basically in the right place at the right time and gets the penalty. And it is a penalty, and Asensio does well and scores it. But like I said, I'd have been happy with a 1-1. When it goes 2-1, you think, oh, brilliant, okay, we've won the game. To go 3 is like, I'm not saying we didn't deserve it. We've not played, do you know what I mean? We haven't played well enough to win 3-1, I don't think, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, massive cliche alert, though. I do think you do make your own luck. And, the ball that Rodgers has whipped in, I'm not saying it's going to work every time, but sometimes it might find the intended. Yeah, you might find the intended target, and your centre forward might stick it away. And I think that's sometimes, it's stating the obvious, but football, it's harder to defend when there's that element of surprise when you do things quickly. I think that's one of the main criticisms of Emery ball sometimes, that it can be so slow and methodical that it gives teams chances to kind of set up and try and nullify you and negate you. But so I think, and the fact that Emery's gone big after 70 minutes, I think McCoist and Fletcher were thinking, how many changes he made. 4 changes? 4 changes, Emery? It's insane. So I wasn't expecting him to make... I mean, I think I moaned in the last podcast that why does he always make his changes in one go rather than drip feeding them onto the pitch? But he's decided that he wasn't satisfied with a 1-1. So he's tried to find a way where Villa can be a little bit more of a threat in an attacking sense. Cash, I think Cash did well. He's obviously won the penalty. He give us that opportunity to attack down that flank. So I don't really buy the fact that it was luck. I think not from Villa's point of view. It's probably bad luck from Bruges' point of view. But I think Villa deserved that breakthrough, but by deciding that they weren't prepared to settle for a 1-1.
Yeah, how many times have we seen us play better than that and not win, or we be on the wrong side of luck? I'm going to read a few comments, which is going to take us down some different avenues. AVFC actually says, hey, we take those lucky breaks. Plenty of times we have fallen foul of those lucky breaks before against us. Yeah, exactly. King81 says, they beat us by one of our players randomly picking up a ball. I bet they didn't care about that luck. Again, exactly. And Charlie says, how many times have you seen us dominate games and lose? I'll take a 3-1 playing poorly for a change. And especially in this kind of format, knockout football, it's a massive advantage for us in that second leg. A couple of people still asking about away goals. That is no longer a thing since a couple of seasons ago. So it doesn't matter that we've got the 2 goals away from home in that sense, like it used to. That would have been a much bigger advantage than it is now. But just to clear that up again. Dirty Dogs and Diesel says, no sympathy for Bruges. We have been on that side enough in the past. The couple about Watkins as well, which we'll get to in a sec, but I just want to touch on this one from Tom. This is away from Bruges for a sec. Do you remember when I said a couple of weeks ago that I'd been recognised at Villa Park just by my voice for the first time? And that feels like it should be a more common occurrence, as a podcast. Lots of people just listen. I think I said something like, I wonder how many people just listen and don't watch, and what their perception might be of us. Tom says, first time watcher of the live pod, and your voices do not match your appearance that I have in my head. I mean, first of all, Tom, our faces are on the logo on the audio version anyway. Maybe he doesn't know which one's which, potentially. I hope to think that we're more attractive than he had in his head, is the angle I'm going to go with, rather than less.
I'd like to know, Tom, probably not in the comments because you'll batter me, but maybe email me or tweet me or something. Do I look more like Jude Law or less like Jude Law than you originally thought?
Good. Ollie says, Matt Kendrick looks exactly as he sounds. I don't know what to make of that. I think that's probably bang on, to be honest.
I've got a velvety voice and a velvety face. That's
exactly the point I was getting at. Right, let's do some Ollie Watkins chat then. A couple of comments came through at the same time, but I've only highlighted one from Carl, who says, I thought Watkins led the line superbly. If the defender doesn't connect with it, Ollie scores. I disagree on that. I thought Ollie Watkins was really poor. Certainly in the first half, especially. I think he gave the ball away in the first 25 minutes or so, maybe 3 or 4 times. He blasted one out of play at one stage. Massively overhit it. It just looked really sloppy. And you don't see those kind of performances from Watkins often, I don't think. He might not score, but he'll be involved in the build-up, or his hold-up play will be good. I don't think you see many games where he's just totally off it. When this game was 1-1, and I was thinking of the title, I was going to put something in there like, Watkins quiet or Watkins frustrated or something like that, because I just felt like he didn't seem his usual self. So I don't know what did you make of him? Are you more on the side that he did play well or that he didn't? I was surprised to see 2 or 3 comments basically saying that he played well tonight. So I didn't see that.
I didn't think he seemed as sharp as he normally is first half. I wondered if he was carrying a slight knock, but the fact that he lasted, I think lasted the 90. I think he came off last couple of minutes. We sent Bogard on, didn't he? Can I sit completely on the fence? I don't think he was particularly good or particularly bad. I thought he was just.
That's fine. I mean, you can think what you want.
There, I thought when Emery made the 4 changes. I thought Watkins might have been one of them, to be honest. I thought he might have tried Rashford at centre forward and put Ramsey on the left. But, Emery clearly trusted him to last the distance. I know that's a really poor answer, but I just thought he was, just a kind of standard 6 out of 10, just
5 out of 10.
Okay. Well, Don't need to get in.
Don't go there. Don't go there. Don't do it.
A
few comments. Felt like he couldn't do more than what he did, really, says Holly. Alex says, I don't think we ever got him the ball enough or in a good enough position to be poor. He did his job. C. Johnson says the fact that Watkins, it's what Wilkins, and it threw me. Watkins wasn't up for the penalty speaks volumes. The guy's not a pure number 9. Sorry. Don't agree. King 81, Watkins could trap a bag of cement and then the ball bounced miles off him every time. Couldn't trap a bag of cement. Bloody hell. This is why I don't read the comments live. Very poor game from him and looked off it for a few weeks. And Indy says Watkins works hard, but he's finishing his ball. So I don't even think he got him into particular positions to test his poor finishing. It just didn't seem involved in the game to me. Maybe that's a Bruges thing. They did a job on him and defended against him well, but he just didn't look his usual self. And if Emery comes out in the press and says, oh yeah, he's been struggling with an illness or something, I'd go, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Pure speculation for me. No?
Is that the only possible mitigation you're going to accept?
Illness or injury or whatever, headache. Yeah, I would give him something.
Well, unless you send me a doctor's note tomorrow morning, the fact that you were stumbling over those comments, I won't accept it, mate. So, what I was going to say, I'll tell you what amused me in the first half when Luca Dean's taken a really heavy touch and it's got out of play, and he's berating Watkins for not making the run down the line, and I think McCoy said, fair enough, he should have made the run, but equally, you're the one who's in control of it. And it reminds me, don't know why I'm telling you this, but people blaming other people for their own faults. I've told you a story about when my dad taught me to drive, or I used to have some extra lessons with my dad.
Oh, it doesn't ring a bell, but I'm intrigued, so crack on.
I think I've got this little beige Ford Fiesta that he used to take me out in. And so I'd have a proper driving instructor, but Dad would take me for some extra lessons and stuff. And my dad is like the most clean living, lovely, polite, well-mannered man in the world. It's the first time I ever heard him swear. And he dropped the F-bomb because I stalled the car. And this is not dual control. This is just a normal car.
Just a car.
I stalled it and I blamed him. And it was clearly my fault. So that was the time. That was the time when my dad, I heard my dad swear for the first time at the age of 17. So
you just narrowly avoided a lamppost or a tree or something.
So the moral of the story, kids, own your own mistakes, take responsibility, and don't blame Ollie Watkins or my dad. Okay, there you go.
I wondered where that was going for a second. You managed to bring it back round to the game, so fair play. Just as a total aside, that will mean nothing to the viewers, but just a totally random coincidence for the podcast that we're filming tomorrow, where we're looking back at a time. I've been really cryptic here for no reason, but you'll see it on the channel in a week or two. I was looking through some of our old episodes just to see certain dates of when things happened. I clicked on one of us in the office. It was like episode 10 or something, really early days. When you click on a video and it already jumps to a point already. Random video, I clicked on 2 or 3. Last one I clicked on was you talking about me driving. As I was still learning at the time, and it was like, oh, you must have left a path of destruction along Calzone or something. So it means something to only you and me, but the fact that the only video I clicked on also referenced the driving lesson is, strange coincidence.
And on a day when I've been in your car and I've seen you driving specs.
For the first time. Did you rate my driving in our 100-meter drive that we went on?
I thought it was good, mate. Yeah, I thought it was good. Thanks. I thought you managed to do probably a 6-point turn.
No, it wasn't that many.
Right, anyway,
let's move on.
Back on topic.
Should we do man of the match?
Yeah, go on. I've got one.
It's everybody's favourite section. It's time for the Man of the Match award, and we're going to pick our top 3 in order. And if there wasn't 3 good players, it's a bit of tough shit, isn't it?
Well, I'll say I don't think there probably is 3 good players as a standout for man of the match contenders. I think the one, you said you've got one, I've got one as well. Tyrone Mings?
Yeah, it's going to be mine.
Yeah, I'm just saying, is it Tyrone Mings? And you say, yeah, and I go, yeah, me too.
Oh, you've stolen my thunder now.
Sorry. Where's your man of the match?
Courtney Hall. Yeah, I think Mings, obviously, he got some previous, hadn't he? There was a backstory to Mings going back there. his Champions League debut went pretty wrong, didn't it? So being involved in the goal, big header for the goal, for Bailey's goal. I had to watch that, that one where he's cleared it off the line. I had to watch that 3 or 4 times to check whether he got a touch. And I finally saw an angle where he did get a touch. I'm not convinced that was going in still. I think it was going to hit the post.
I mean, again, Ali McCoy is still loving it. Absolutely loving it. Best goal on clearance you've ever seen. I really like Ali McCoy's foot, a little bit over the top. I don't know. It's hard to tell. The angle that you saw the touch, was that the one from behind the goal? The angles behind the goal. That was the one for me that was like, oh yeah, that's the one that you can clearly see the ball is diverted by his touch. The player who's put the header in wants a corner because he knows he's got a touch as well, and it should have been, obviously. I think the commentators are saying, like, oh, Mings probably wanted to give the corner, so everyone knows that he's got a touch on it. They're thinking, no, he won't defend a corner. Of course he won't. So yeah, it was good. Whether it's going in or not probably doesn't really matter. And it's one of them, like, does he mean it? No, forget it. I don't want to take anything away from me. Let's say he meant it. It's a nice little touch. He's stopped us from going 2-1 down at that one at that stage. Sorry, and then we go on to win the game 3-1. Thanks to Tyrone Mings, he gets the assist for the first goal, heading it back out to Bailey. He clears one off the line to keep it at 1-1. He's redeemed himself for the previous encounter against Bruges tonight, I think.
Yeah, I thought generally his play was pretty good as well. Although he must doff his cap to his central defensive partner Konza for that little nutmeg down by the corner flag, which was I think the commentators were debating whether he meant it. He clearly did mean it because I don't know what else he was trying to do. But yeah, I thought that Mings, sometimes we're critical of him for dwelling on the ball too much. I thought he just kept things moving pretty well. I know it's probably different when you're watching it on the telly to when you're sitting in the stadium and you can see all angles of the pitch and what he should be doing better than you can when you're watching on the telly. But I just thought it was a very composed, just professional performance, really. And I don't think he's obviously a heart on the sleeve kind of guy, but I think he's also somebody who's able to kind of get his game head on and get in the zone, and as much as his emotions might have been swirling going back there and having to return to the scene of the crime, I thought he coped with it really well. So he'd be the one. Now, how we find the other two, I'm not sure.
I don't think we need to pick two. I'm happy to give Mings top spot. Martinez has made a good save, a couple of good saves. Rodgers has put the ball in. Bailey's got a good goal, but then probably lets himself down for the one we conceded. We spoke about Watkins. I thought Rashford was fairly quiet as well. Asensio has obviously scored the penalty, but is that man of the match worthy? I don't know. It's a struggle to pick three, which is where this format sometimes falls down. So I'm happy to give it Mings and move on, I think.
Sounds good to me, mate. I'll be clutching at straws otherwise. So, yeah.
There's no point us waffling about one of the others who doesn't really deserve it. Let's give it Mings and switch to substitutions. Jude says, great substitutions. Kamara on at right back. Cash push further forward. The cost for the own goal and the pen came from that action down our right-hand side. The subs is something we've been critical of Emery in recent performances, that maybe is he making the right decisions? Has he lost his head and all those kind of things? Lost his head a little bit for another yellow card of him raging on the touchline for whatever reason, which is I'm still a little bit concerned by that, but fair enough. He's kept his cool in regards to making the right changes, and those changes have won us a game, have they? I guess they have, haven't they? Cash won the penalty and Asensio scored it.
4 changes. It's all right. It's just one of my favourite peep show clips, so I'm going to keep exhausting that. I think they have won us the game, really. Yeah, well, the penalty has come. If Cash isn't on the pitch, as your man said, Disassi's not in that area, so you don't get a penalty. And if Asensio's not on the pitch, Rodgers is probably not down that right flank to cross the ball in. So just you talking about Emery there, it reminds me, I can't remember what manager it was, but I love a nice little turn of phrase in a match report or something. And John Percy from the Telegraph, who's a really good journalist and a mate, a mate of mine from back in the press box days. He described a manager once as a tortured fidget, which I thought was a really nice thing. And Emery's a bit like that, a tortured fidget. But he also once described Roberto Di Matteo as the Sultan of Smug, which was also a brilliant.
That's good as well.
Brilliant turn of phrase. So yeah, I'm just I'll send some royalties to John Percy for quoting all his brilliant turns of phrase. But he was a tortured fidget, Emery, and I don't know. I think sometimes he can be this lovely, nice, polite gentleman, but there's this burning desire to win.
Yeah.
So I think if you encountered Emery in any other walk of life, so if you're waiting behind him to pay for your petrol at the petrol station, or you know what I mean, you bump into him as you're walking to catch your train, I think he'd be the nicest man in the world. But when he's got his game head on and he's ready for battle, I think he forgets those. I still don't think he'd be calling like referees as good as his English is. I don't think he'd be using too many strong kind of Anglo-Saxon terms. But I think in that moment, that's when he wants to fight for everything. And I think sometimes, I don't know. I think sometimes you can put too much on the manager who kind of jumps up and down and does it for effect and tries to ball and shout. I don't think Emery does it for effect. I think he does it because that's what he's feeling. But I do think it has an effect, because I think his players must kind of, take a look over and think, the gaffer's not happy or whatever. And, subconsciously at least gives them that extra oomph. So I don't mind him doing that. I don't mind him losing his rag occasionally and getting a yellow card here and there. And actually, as much as I like his politeness and stuff, I actually think some of his messaging probably, this is hard because I don't want him to become like an Arteta or a Klopp or whatever who moans about every referee decision and everything that goes against them. But I think sometimes that big club mentality, it's done with a purpose to try and put pressure on the next referee and try and get things to go your way. So as much as I don't want that evolution of Emery, I think we might see a little bit more of that. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
No, I agree. I think if you channel that frustration or that anger in the right way, you can use it to your advantage. Of how many times we said about Villa being too nice or too soft, and it needs a bit of that sometimes. And we saw with I don't want to keep going back to it, but the Duran red card at Newcastle, clearly the referee was impacted by the players on the pitch and what they said. Villa can gain an advantage in small ways by doing some of that as well, because everyone else does it. Yeah, fine, I'm okay with that. If you don't channel that anger or that frustration in the right way, and you're losing your head, getting yellow cards and sent to the stands, and things like that, like I don't know how the players would feel about different things. Obviously everybody is different, but when the game is being stopped because your manager is being booked or shouting at the fourth official or whatever, do the players think like, yes, gaffer, like, yeah, show a bit of passion, or are they thinking, that's a bit embarrassing, like, calm down, mate? You don't know, do you? It has a different effect on different people. So I just think we've definitely seen a more like ragged Emery in this season, and that couples with the fact that we've not been as good, and it probably portrays like he's frustrated because we're not very good, and that's probably right. If we were winning games and looked comfortable and on a course of fourth and he was going crazy, you'd be like, oh, what is he getting from that? Is it just too much pressure for him or whatever? I think he's as frustrated as we are. It's just sometimes I don't think it's a good look of the Emery that we're used to.
Yeah, they're probably. I'm sure. I mean, Emery's a very fair man, you'd think. So you probably think that if he gets booked, he has to throw a couple of grand in the Christmas kitty, doesn't he? So they're probably thinking,
I assume so.
Go on, gaffer, that's another £2,000 worth of Madry there, or whatever it is. So I think they work with him close enough to know that it's definitely not for show. That's because their behaviour is not pleasing him. So they better be better and start pleasing him.
Yeah. Asensio, very quickly before we do a couple of silly questions at the end. How important is he in terms of Villa doing anything good this year, do you think, in the remaining games? We talked about bringing him in to help us win now. Scored his, fifth goal, I think, is it? 2 against Chelsea, 2 the other night, 1 tonight. 5. Not that we expected that from him. We thought he's more of an assists man than a goals man. But, influencing games, winning games. If we're to do anything, and I say do anything, I mean win the FA Cup or get to the Champions League semi-final or whatever, how important will Asensio be in that, do you think? It's clearly someone that Emery's wanted for a long time.
I think he's already been important. So I think, I think the fact it was quite a coup for us to get him. And, we saw within that 15-minute cameo when he entered the pitch for his debut that we got a class act. I think when he stepped up, it looked like Tielemans was going to take the pen, didn't it? But he was doing the old protecting the person who was taking the penalty. I think the commentators both said, "Oh, you just fancy him, don't you? You just fancy him, Asensio." I thought, I think I do. I think I do. I think I do fancy him. And people who are just listening to this, he is my doppelganger. To be honest, if you've never seen the video version of this, but he's just class, isn't he? He just oozes class.
Done nothing besides score the goal, though.
Yeah, it's what a trick, what a party piece that is to have. But
that was a joke, by the way, for the audio listeners. I was laughing.
I still don't. I still think it's difficult. I know that Rodgers and him have been on the pitch when we've won that game in the last 10 minutes tonight, but I still think that's a real conundrum. I still think for the bulk of games, I'd go either or, which is really difficult because they're both really brilliant players. Maybe, obviously we've got Marlon not in the Champions League. We've got Marlon to come back in when he's well again. You've got Bailey, who, maybe that goal does give him the confidence boost, but maybe it does become. I'm probably backtracking on what I said 2 or 3 weeks ago now, but maybe if we've got to force, if Asensio starting games is going to be the key to us, winning football matches, maybe Rodgers does have to become that right winger, I suppose. But again, these are really, really lovely, delicious, brought to you by NordVPN problems to have, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Someone in the comments says, "I'm getting we lost vibes from you two and pretty much everyone else. I wonder why other fans dislike us so much when we have you lot." We get comments like that all the time, like as if we're negative or whatever. What? Just because we spoke about Ollie Watkins not being on form, 1-3-1, we're clearly buzzing about it. Some of the criticism we get is so irritating because you're just wrong. Just absolutely wrong. Another one that's wrong, but I'd love him being right. Tom from earlier said, "I just imagine that Kendrick was much fatter than he actually is. Took me by surprise by how slim he is. Please take this as a compliment and no idea why I thought you were about 6'5" and a big lad." So are you taking that as a compliment? I think there is one in there.
I'm about 5'9" and a big lad. Let's just say that this camera flatters me, to be honest. If you saw me side on with some of the photographs that Dan had taken today, it's like those kind of boobs and belly suits that you have to wear at kind of prenatal classes and stuff like that. So thank you for your kind words. You've done wonders for my self-esteem.
Yeah, again, going back to those old podcasts that I was looking at, I was looking at myself thinking, I was much slimmer 5 years ago. Things have changed. It's a sad state of affairs. And very quickly, Holly says, unless we get dragged into any other nonsense, how long did it take you to learn to drive? Now, I started learning to drive before the COVID lockdown and I had my lessons halted because of it. So that delayed me by like a year. I had a fair amount of lessons. I felt like I almost had to not start again, but I had a few. I was rusty basically. I passed first time, but it probably took me longer than I should have done. Were you a pass first time man?
No, I wasn't, Dan. You know this. You're trying to embarrass me. How long did it take me to learn to drive? I don't know, probably about a year, I'd have thought, to be honest.
I think I'd have been around that kind of time.
I passed third time.
Okay. I think my dad and my sister passed third time, and me and my mum passed first time, and we always argue like, who's the best one? Is it you? A lot of people seem to pass on their third for whatever reason, but first time passes. Come on.
Well, on my second driving test, we've got a driving theme today, haven't we? On my second driving test, my instructor had a new car, and it was the first time I'd driven it in the lesson, getting all my mitigation in.
Right. Yeah.
And I crunched the gears so much driving down towards just down Dudgod, Dimon at Gornal, and I was driving down towards like not Russell's Hall. Christ knows anyway, down towards Himley, and I crunched the gears. And this must have been my dad being a bad influence because he swore at me. And my language, I think I got failed for dropping the F-bomb rather than for really crashing.
Get a yellow card for that, don't you?
Yeah, but the next.
Did you have to do a theory?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was one of the original crew. They're just testing it out on me, I think.
one of the first. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, and the car I passed him. You know the Flintstones one where you have to just.
Very, very fondly. I know people like the non-football chat. So if that is you, stick around for another couple of minutes. It's Pancake Day. We have to talk about pancakes, don't we? This is peak content for us. Talking about food and stuff. I thought the atmosphere was going to be as flat as a pancake at one stage when Villa went 1-0 behind. But few people actually asked before I even mentioned this at the start of the podcast, saying things like, "What's Matt's go-to pancake topping?" People obviously care. What made me laugh as you were talking then was from the comment saying, "How many pancakes has Matt had already and waiting to eat straight after the podcast?" I'm guessing 10. It's so rude, but I am laughing.
I've not had any yet. Now, my wife, during the course of doing this, she's been to my mother-in-law's and they've been sorting pancakes. So I'm expecting when I leave this room and go into the kitchen, I'm expecting there will be some pancakes.
Okay, good.
I don't know how many. In terms of my go-to thing, I'm very boring, Dan. We've had pancake chat before.
I was just saying, we've done this podcast for 5 years. There's no way we ain't done this before.
Yeah, must have done a Shrove Tuesday special before. Whether we mentioned Villa in it, I don't know. I just like a little bit of sugar, a little bit of lemon juice, and I'm done.
Me too. It's the classic, isn't it? It's the go-to. It's everyone's staple. I like you a thin pancake or a thick pancake, man? It's kind of like a crepe, isn't it, really? Yeah.
Speaking of crepe on air, yeah, not too thin, but not too thick. Just
not like I mean, like a normal pancake that you'd make yourself, or those like stuffy American style ones that are like 3 inches thick or something. They're not. They're different, aren't they?
It's not. That's not. Is that really? I know it's called a pancake, but that's not a pancake, is it?
So I reckon our American audience would say that's a pancake, and what we would associate as a pancake probably is a crepe. King 81 says he'll be needed a crepe after 10 pancakes. Hey,
I have got another food thing to mention. It was. Do you remember when Mignolet come off his line? What did I say? I'll put it down here. Mignolet come and kind of fluffed his lines and smashed the ball into the stand. And Darren Fletcher, our mate, friend of the show, Fletch, the commentator. There aren't many times in life where a shank is the right decision. Now, this is not rhyming slang. It's not rhyming slang. But I had the loveliest lamb shank on Sunday, and it's fresh in my mind. And it was at what was the pub called? The Coach and Horses near Kings Norton Golf Club. There's the loveliest lamb shank that I've ever had. So, in terms of the shank, never been the right decision. If you go there, the shank absolutely is the right decision. And they serve trifle for dessert as well.
Oh, like a little. I don't like trifle. Not a fan.
Oh, I've got enough to say.
So disappointed. That's very, very quickly a debate that usually rages in our household. It's not the lemon or sugar or maple syrup or fruit and ice cream or whatever. Have what you want. I don't care. How do you eat it? Are you a roll up? Are you put it on a plate? And if you are that, would you opt for a knife and fork or a spoon?
Right, okay.
I'll fired you that. You take it.
I feel like you're kind of asking me how I kind of skin up a spliff rather than how I...
Same demonetised for another week.
Same technique, really. Roll it up and then eat it with a knife and fork. I am definitely a roll-up. I'm a newspaper man, aren't I? So
good. Yeah.
Roll up like
stick it on your arm.
Newspaper, yeah. Stick it through someone's door. Yeah, roll up and not knife and fork. I'm a civilised man. What can I say?
Oh, right. So I think you would, if you rolled it up, I think that's a pick it up and eat, then like a wrap. I don't think you'd need cutlery in that stage.
Yeah, but you're from the rough end of our zone, aren't you? Do you know what I mean?
Well, the real answer anyway is leaving it on a plate, in a circle, and a spoon. Is this a pudding?
What, just leaving it flat?
leaving it flat, and I'll just like a pizza cutter, like the action of a pizza cutter. I'd get my spoon on the side, slice through a bit, scoop it up, whack it in. Job done.
Would you have ice cream with it?
I have done in the past, I've been there. But if I'm doing my own, which I have tonight already, with my 2-year-old, his first pancake day, not his first pancake day, obviously, because he's 2, but his first time consuming pancakes on pancake day. We did them earlier, and I had it with a spoon, with lemon and sugar. I had a couple, and that was that.
And don't take this the wrong way. Are you a tosser?
What about the pancakes? I am, but the pan that we've got wasn't good for tossing, so I just flipped them with a spatula.
Well, okay. It's a bit boring, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it needs must sometimes.
We're
gonna have to get out of here before one of us says something that means there won't be a podcast anymore. So let's end it there. Thank you for joining me, Matt. Oh.
No. It's nothing silly. It's just something I wanted to shout out. I saw. I just love how some of our former players are still in love with the football club. So we've got Ian Taylor, who you see videos of him starting off a chorus of chants in various European locations, and started off the Rashford chant last night in some bar in Belgium. And then Mark Albrighton was over there supporting the Villa.
There as well.
I just think that's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, I do.
What a club that makes that kind of indelible kind of imprint on people. So, yeah, good on you, lads.
Yeah. You've started up the podcast comments now with things that give me a stick to beat me with. Send it there. Come on. There's nothing wrong, by the way, with leaving a pancake flat and using a spoon to cut it up. Try it. Trust me. It's a good, fun little activity. You can cut out a little square, have that, do a triangle bit. You can just have a nice little slice through.
That's fine if you're being your 2-year-old, Dan, but you're a grown man.
I know. It's a child
with a knife and fork.
It's a very childlike thing, isn't it? Pancakes. It's a very I'm having pudding for tea, basically. One day a year, and I'm an adult. I can have it every day if I wanted to, but you don't, do you? So you do these things.
Are you old enough to remember Finder's crispy pancakes?
It rings a bell, but not really.
So they're not a pancake. They're just like kind of breadcrumbs with a little bit of kind of runny mince in it, basically.
Oh, that sounds revolting.
It was a proper kind of freezer tea of the 80s. It was a dad tea. Like my mum used to be a nurse, so she was Sorry, this is very gender stereotypes. I'm sorry.
It was the 60s.
So yeah, thanks. My mum was at work on a night shift. Dad would cook, but it would always be an oven tea. So it would be like fish fingers or chicken Kievs, waffles and beans or whatever. So the Finder's crispy pancake, I'm sure other brands are available. The crispy pancake was the preserve of the kind of not the greatest culinary parent back in the day. So I don't know if they still make them.
I don't think so. The thing you get with pancakes now is actual pancakes is the pre-bought pancake mix stuff in a bottle. Not a fan of that. I make my own in this household. You? I mean, you don't make them, do you?
I feel that we've wandered too much into pancake territory. I think we should. And I'm licking my lips because I'm about to roll one. About to roll a pancake doobie.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Club Brugge podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed it. This is an Aston Villa podcast, would you believe? But it's pancake day, so why not? Thanks everyone for tuning in live on YouTube and your input as always. We will be back with a preview and a post-match for Brentford later in the week. There probably won't be anything now until Friday because we're filming a couple of other bits that you'll see in the big, massive international break that we've got coming up. So we are busy with different things, but you probably won't see us till Friday. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode, and we shall see you then. Bye-bye.